This is like being in the writer's room of a Les Dawson sketch show.
Austin Prince. Is it Austin Prisoner? It was
I just call
Austin.
it The Princess because they also did a Wolsey version,
Oh
and
God,
you don't want to go there.
just to see if when crushed, it'll look any better. Right.
This is the Tire Kickers. Classic car chat with Max and Matt.
Hello again. We're back with a brand new episode of our almost award-winning podcast. We are the Tire Kickers, and we talk about classic cars until we run out of breath.
Coming up this time, deal or no deal. We've spotted some dealers flipping classics overnight for double the money. So we'll ask, is that smart business or just flipping cheeky?
This is the Tire Kickers.
Also, automobilia. Are you a sucker for a rusty tin sign, an old oil can, or a retro petrol pump? Or is it all just money for old tat?
We'll recap our SL versus Stag road test special and see if we've learnt anything. Spoiler alert, I now want a V8. Again.
And we'll get your thoughts on everything from ugly rollers to what warm-up acts you do in front of the neighbours.
So let's stop idling about and get the wheels turning on episode 39 of the Tire Kickers. So, Matthew, I was watching the Iconics auction at Silverstone a couple of weeks ago and spotted a few cars I liked. Two of them, one an old Toyota Hilux and the other a Mercedes 500 SEL.
Okay, so for a man who spends most of his spare time looking at car auction prices,
Well, all of his spare time, actually,
yeah,
sorry.
pretty much all, yeah. I mean, this isn't much of a surprise, to be honest, but why are we bothered by a what Hilux? So it's a sheep farmer's runaround and yet another boring Merc. You're obsessed with these 80s Mercs.
Boring.
What's the issue with these two?
Well, first of all, they sold. The Toyota sold for £4,725 and the Mercedes for £7,313.
Right. Okay. So nearly £5,000 for that Toyota pickup piece of junk. Yeah, that's about right. Mercedes for £7,000. Yeah, as I say, it's a boring 80s silly. That's about right. So what's the problem with those prices?
Well, I saw them the next day, less than 24 hours in fact, pop up for sale on a dealer's social media. The Toyota for $7,995 and the Mercedes for $11,995. So on the Toyota, an increase of $3,270, and on the Merc, $4,682 markup. Now, the dealer even used the pictures from the auction catalogue to advertise them.
Okay, so bit of a chunky overnight flip. I mean, that's what dealers do, isn't it? I mean, they spot a good car, they buy low, they sort it, they prep it, and they sort of sell it on, hopefully for a profit. I mean, that is their business. What is your issue with that?
Well, yeah, but how much is too much? And is that an acceptable markup? I mean, how much work can you do to a car in 24 hours? Plus, if I spotted that, how many other people have? And is that a good look for a dealer or even the classic car trade? Now, usually a dealer might argue they did some work, a service, some bodywork, etc. But if it's up for sale the next day with auction house pictures, I mean, come on, even Mike Brewer takes a hubcap to be rechromed. So I think that is taking the Michael.
Yeah, so I guess what your beef is, as the teenagers would say, is that they've literally just flipped it overnight and they've not done anything. I mean, one a dealer is running a business, they've got overheads. If this was a private buyer, then fair enough. If somebody bought it at auction and flipped it overnight, 24 hours later for an inflated thingy, they're going to get most of that cash because they've got any overheads. Dealers got overheads, they've got to pay tax on the margin, they've got to pay their operating costs, all that sort of stuff. Isn't it just smart that they've spotted something that you haven't, or we haven't, and they've done the legwork on a Tuesday afternoon to go and look at it or spot it or follow the auction, whatever, and they've just got lucky on this one? I mean, the market will decide, won't it? It's just business, good business, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, I'm not going to say that I don't want people to make a profit. You know, I'm perfectly happy with a profit, but it's about the kind of idea of being a dealer, because for me, dealers need to have the skill. You know, most dealers don't go to auctions from just flip cars because that's a kind of Arthur Daly model from the 1980s. You might do that on a Vauxhall Nova for 500 quid, but I don't think you tend to do that so much on classic cars because the dealer's skill It's to find the right cars, make sure they're okay, get the history together, do some work on them, put them out, and that's your margin. They are doing some value added in order to justify their profit. They're actually using their skills and their expertise, and lots of dealers have been in business for 30, 40 years, in order to present the best cars. I think this is just taking the mick a bit. And where's the skill in that? I don't think for us who regard classic cars as a passion, that's really what it's about.
I went and looked at a Mercedes, a 70s Mercedes about 18 months ago, and I knew it had come from an auction because you just do a quick reverse search on the number plate, and I saw it had sold for 5,000 in the auction, and the dealer had it up for like 12, 13. I went and looked at it, and I wasn't that impressed with the car in the end. But I went back and said, "Look, would you consider an offer?" And they were quite abrupt with me and said, "No. If you want to find one in this condition, you carry on searching." And it's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, but I know it's come from the auction." And I said to them, "Look, I understand where it's come from. I understand you've got to make a profit on it, but can we talk about, somewhere in the middle, perhaps, just to test the water?" And they were no. They was like, "No, no." While I'm defending the dealers, and we do have dealers who listen to this, it'd be interesting to hear what they say. But while I defend that, and I do understand you've got to make a living, but the transparency is there now. The Pandora's box is slightly open on the values and things. So is it fair to ask double and a bit for stuff?
No, not if you're not going to do anything to it. Because the best dealers, you see the adverts in the back of owners' clubs magazines. Dealers want your car and they search out the best cars. They are looking and digging and phoning and calling, and their contacts mean that they get cars before they hit the market, before they hit the auctions. So there is the dealer skill, isn't it? Because there is so much transparency around, they don't want people to see what they paid for a car. They only want people to see what they're asking for a car. I think with the good dealers, those are the ones who are searching out the right cars. I think this kind of flipping just feels a bit 1980s and just a bit wrong, to be honest. I've got no problem with somebody making a profit on a car, but come on, just make a little bit more effort to search out the right cars, find decent customers, and also make sure the cars are really good.
To be fair to the dealers, though, I mean, trading at the moment is probably harder than it has been for a long, long time. Getting hold of the cars and stock is difficult at the moment. Business overheads are through the roof at the moment. So, perhaps, and maybe in this particular case, yes, they flipped them online in 24 hours, but maybe they've taken those cars and they are going through them and servicing them, and they are valeting them. All those are costs, by the way. And then maybe they might have stuck with them for like 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month. So if they've got the neck to kind of ask for it and they can get the money, then good on them, I think.
No, but it's not, I'm not ranting against dealers because it's the dealer's skill I'm after. If you're going to pay a premium for a car, a dealer premium for a car, I think you want them to do something for you. You want them to have checked out the car. You want them to have chosen the best car and actually make sure that it's okay to sell on. And I think that's
I see.
where the
Right.
dealers
Okay.
are good, when they actually earn their money, if you like. This
So,
is
so
just a
you wouldn't
cheap flip.
so you wouldn't have a problem if it's suddenly this Hilux they'd found was the best Hilux in Britain, but just was underpriced, and they'd use their knowledge to kind of find it, and then they were just going to turn it around so that by the time you got to see it, your jaw would drop. You haven't got a problem with that necessarily. Your problem is just somebody's lazily just added 5 grand on and flipped it out.
If you find out that your car is 24 hours fresh out of the auction, but 4 grand more expensive, I'd be surprised if you went back to that dealer again. So I'm just saying that the dealers, the best dealers, have to earn their money by being right, by sourcing the right cars, by making sure they're good cars and making sure it's the right customer. So if a dealer's earning money that way, fine. But if a dealer's just earning money with a very quick flip, it just feels a bit odd. It doesn't really belong, I think, in the kind of modern classic car world where we're all driven by passion and not just a quick buck.
I've had this, you have this dream, don't you, driving to work every so often, thinking, "Oh, I'll give this up, and actually I could sell classic cars or something." But actually, hats off to anybody who does it, because it must be a really stressful thing. Because one, the cars are bloody reliable, aren't they? You could sort a car out, and then somebody comes to test drive it, and it starts playing up. And two, it's a fashionable seasonal thing. Classic cars, as we've talked about, the winter it goes dead. It's just, you might be sitting on stock for a long, long time, and then fashion's in and out. You could have suddenly, gone and bought loads of 60 stuff, and then suddenly this year comes around and everybody wants modern classics. You're lumped with a load of stock. So I think it's quite a hard graft being a classic car dealer. And I think I'm not that bothered. I mean, I think the market sorts it out. If nobody wants to buy that Hilux or that Mercedes, they won't. I think you can vote with your feet. If you don't like the markups, then just jog on.
I do quite like the Mercedes they've got up for sale, though, I have to say. It's a 1986 560 SEL W126 in black.
So,
It's
so what
quite
you'll
nice.
do, what you'll do is what you normally do: sit like a vulture on a tree and wait for the price to drop.
Well, it's not going
And
to
then
drop as low as he paid for it at the auction, is it?
no, you'll wait. Yeah, you'll wait till they're vulnerable and you'll swoop in, won't you?
Christmas Eve, that's always the best time to buy cars, isn't it?
That poor dealer.
So we're clearly at odds about this, but where do you sit? Fair enough or flipping cheeky? Please let us know. We are the Tyre Kickers, it's episode 39, and shortly we're talking retro car tat, or automobilia as I believe it's known. Who buys it and why?
But first, in our last bonus episode, we went all car journalistically and did a road test between Max's 1986 Mercedes 300 SL and my newly acquired 1978 brown Triumph Stag.
We asked the serious questions, tested the cars to their limits, and came up with various serious consumer journalism style conclusions.
Looking at the cars, so we've got Max's red 1980s, obviously one of the last of the productions of the 107s, and then my Stag, which is a late 70s, which is one of the last of the productions of the Stags.
And there is a very British bolt-on show here, which is just a fantastic
that's
bit of
right.
BL work, isn't it?
Okay, so
in the T-top, there's a big bolt-on show. And I mean, in a German car, that just doesn't really happen. They've kind of engineered it all out, but that's a very British solution.
You know, if we get into quality, the door chunk, we should do the test of, shouldn't we? Have a listen to this. Okay. No, well, let's have a listen to yours then.
Move
in
over to
comparison.
mine.
Right, so we're by the SL now. Not much in it.
I think that's quite
Hold
long.
on, back to the.
Go on, do it again. Stag. SL. Oh, that is quite
that
a
is a bit
thunk.
better, yeah.
That is a thunk. Right, I'm going to walk round and crouch down at the back of the Stag. It's got two massive exhausts. It looks like two 10-pound guns, to be honest. So I'm just going to point the microphone at the back of the exhaust and get it fired up. Bollocks.
Right, Max is in position in his German cruiser. Here we go. Actually, that sounds surprisingly sporty.
That's 3,000 revs and 60 miles an hour. That's quite nice. I mean, it is a nice engine. I know these engines have a reputation for being troublesome, but it is a beautifully smooth V8. Now, Matt is heading over to have a drive of my SL. Knowing Matt, he'll be moaning about not being able to get into this car properly. Stand by for some huffing and puffing.
I get my legs in. Right, does the seat go back? Okay. Okay, so when you kick down, it doesn't exactly lurch forward, but it then puts the power on and you feel it slowly increase. It's not particularly fast, is it?
Right, engines off. I think the Stag is a great concept car, but just the concept wasn't finished, which is a shame because like so many BL cars, the actual design behind it, the idea behind it, was brilliant. I mean, nothing short of brilliant.
Yeah, I love the Stag design. I think it's ugly and beautiful in the same measure, but I do think the 107 is probably one of the prettiest convertibles built, and I'd probably go with the 107.
That's interesting because after driving the Stag, I think the Stag is a much better sports car. It's more nimble, it's more alive, it's got better steering, it accelerates better, and the engine is more interesting. But I've got about an hour and a half to drive home along the M4, so I wouldn't take it home.
Yeah, it's very true. It's different, and I think fun is relative. I think I could own your car and have a lot of enjoyment with it. But I think the Stag, there's something about the Stag that when you put the foot down and you hear that note out of the exhaust, you smile.
That episode is available now on your podcast platform. Just listen to the episode before this one. And thanks to those of you who shot us a note to say how much you enjoyed it.
Yes, thank you very much, and honourable mentions to Darren Pendleton, Elliot Atkins, Tony Richards, Benjamin Maltby, Ian Late, Chicks and his Stag, Scarlett, Alan McCaskill, Mr. M Ford on Insta, as well as My Classic Wheels and Corb 2000. Just some of you got in touch. Thank you very much. You said you liked it and that we should do some more, perhaps.
Yeah, we also enjoyed doing it, but what did we learn? Anyone? Anyone?
Or did we learn anything? Yeah, we did actually. I mean, I got. We mentioned Chicks there and his stag. He kind of got in touch and accused me of being a little bit mealy mouthed on this on that particular podcast. He said I didn't. The Stag is such a great car. I should have just gone for it. And he kind of felt I held back. But we were trying to be balanced, weren't we?
I'm not sure we were sitting on the fence. I think we were quite honest about both of our car's shortcomings. And I really fell in love with your Stag on that drive. That V8 is tremendous, and the noise was amazing because I drove home in mine, and it was a little bit of an anticlimax, to be honest. Because, well, okay, it got home without any mechanical problems, which is something that you don't always have the luxury of. But it was very quiet, and after just every time I prodded the throttle on that Stag, it's just vroom. After that, it was like, "Oh, I kinda missed that." So I don't think we sat on the fence.
Yeah, they're both very different cars, though, and I think while yours doesn't have the sort of thrill ride of the Stag, perhaps it is much more of a long distance cruiser. So the Stag, I wouldn't want to go hundreds of miles in because you do have to keep your foot in. There is a noise, but just driving that round for short periods of time is fab.
It's funny, when I was driving home after that, when I was driving my car, I was thinking, what is the difference about this? And it really is, and a couple of people made this point on the kind of comments about the program, is that, you're comparing chalk and cheese really, because the Stag is almost like a British Leyland prototype because it didn't have the development that the SL did. Because by the time your car came out in 78, the SL had been in production for 24 years. So really, it'd been through several gestations. It had been improved. It was a Mark III SL by the time the Stag came out. Because actually, if you imagine what would have been a Stag Mark III or a Stag Mark IV, that would have been a really interesting car.
Yeah, you said that on the podcast, didn't you? You said that quite rightly that the Stag was kind of a 90% car. It was sort of done and then left to finish off, and you can see that in the not only the quality but just in the thought. Whereas the SL is something that's been developed. It's, as you say, a second sort of third generation of SLs. It had been thought about and refined, and it was refined through the years. Mercedes didn't just leave it, although it kind of ostensibly looks like the same car. They did refine it and they did fine tune it to make it ride better. And you've got the sort of later one. So if you wound that back to the 70s, maybe it'd be a little bit of a rawer car. I've driven a 70s SL, and it is a bit more boaty, floaty, lurchy. However, it looks great. And I think if you just, come back to this thing. If you want a trouble-free classic car, an SL's a really good bet for your money. The Stag is a different thing, though, and I think it's an interesting one because I was sort of thinking after as well, how long am I going to keep this car? Because it is fun. It's a really fun car to drive. I've just been out in it today for a couple of times. I literally just took it out of the garage like an hour ago just because the sun came out, and I thought, you know what? I just want to go and have that thrill of driving it. And it is an interesting car to drive. I'm really, really enjoying driving it. Really, really enjoy it. Much more than I thought I would, actually. I wanted the engine, but I'm actually enjoying the car because it's so usable, but it's so, as we talked about in the podcast, you put your foot down, the bonnet goes up. You take your foot off, the bonnet goes down. But every time I put my foot down, I smile because it's just really enjoyable. It's a really
It's got
enjoyable
that
sound.
noise as well, isn't it? Like kind of modern cars have that noise coming through the car speakers. A modern car would kill for the noise of a Triumph Stag V8.
It's a much more usable car than I've had in the past. So I'm already thinking actually I can run it out for an hour or two when the weather's good enough to enjoy it. I just need a petrol tanker following me. But it's a different type of thing. Whereas your
Or
car,
a reliable car following you, or the
Yeah.
AA following you.
What did you do after that podcast? We recorded that. What did you drive? Like an hour and a bit, hour and a half home?
I went flat out down the M4, so I reckon it was about 90 minutes. Hood down on the M4. I had a really good time, but I did think, oh God, that V8. And it's funny, it made me lust after a V8, to be honest. Now, I know we've discussed this at length, but once again, here is the feature entitled Max Wants a V8 Part 7. Now, like the Police Academy sequels, this one is going to run and run, but is slightly less funny.
Does this mean that you've been back in a classified looking at V8 yet again?
I've never left the classifieds. I've got a left field suggestion for myself now because nobody else is interested in this.
Go on.
That I came across. Do you remember the MG ZT 260? This was the Dole Rover 75 saloon with a Ford Mustang 4.6 litre V8.
Really?
Now, the original MG ZT was the front wheel drive V6. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I've tried to sort of rub it out of my head.
They tossed all of that out and they made it a rear-wheel drive V8. Now, here is one for sale on your screen. Talk about a wolf in a Rover 75's clothing.
That looks like a what? It doesn't even look pimped up. Just looks like a granddad car.
That's why it's so good. It's a Rover 75Q car with a 4.6 litre Mustang V8 in it. So it's in black. This is a 2000 and let me just read the details. 2005. So this is one of the last ones made. A black MG ZT 260 V8. So it's the four-door saloon. It's a Rover 75 with an MG
Yeah,
grille
boring.
grated onto the front. If that had an Audi badge, people would be wetting themselves for it.
Right, where are we? I'm shot 34 of 86 now. I'm trying to. Oh god, the interior's horrible. Oh god, it looks like Rover 216 inside. Right, keep going. I want to find the engine. Where is it? Oh, that looks horrible. That engine. What is that?
The internet
Yeah.
slowed down. I tell you what, that cheap 2000 stereo looks rough, isn't it? Yeah, okay, the engine is a bit dirty, but it's a 4.6 litre V8 Mustang engine. Now, surprisingly, it didn't have enough power. They were talking about making one of these with a 500 brake horsepower engine, but it is a really good, fun car because it's rear-wheel drive, it's manual, and it's got a V8, and you can make these sound really good.
I think if you're finding this sort of stuff on the internet, you need to get out a bit more because this looks really dull. And then you flip the bonnet and it just looks really ugly. I mean,
Okay, so that's a no. I'm going to throw this up on your screen as the medicine for my V8 rash.
right. Oh, not another bloody SL129 thing.
This is a
Oh,
Mercedes SLR 129. Now, I believe I've mentioned these slightly in the past, but these are V8s, and with an aftermarket exhaust, you can make them sound really, really good. And this one's 18,000 for a really nice 1996 SL500.
yeah. I mean, I don't dislike the SLs. We've talked about these in the past. That they're not
A lot.
classic-y enough for me, but that's a really good block in there. I mean, they've used that block in a lot of different things. It's an M119, isn't it? The 5-litre V8. If you're going to buy one of these
You are
cars,
catching on with your engine codes.
well, I have one of them, didn't I? I have the 118 or the 119 in another Mercedes. So I know that they're good and they're reliable. And I think a good V8 in these kind of 90s 2000 era Mercedes are the ones to get because they do just sound really, really good. Do they sound good out of stock, or do you have to put
Stock
an
are a bit
exhaust?
quiet, but there's
Yeah.
a company called Eisenman, I think, that do aftermarket exhausts, and I've driven a couple of those with those on, and they sound American. Just sounds like an American muscle car. It's great. Not interestingly as good as your Stag still. The Stag won the sound contest hands down, but it does still sound good.
Yeah, if you're going on this tip with the Mercedes, I would say look at the R230 SLs, the 2000 era Mercedes SLs, the 500s and the 55s, because they're going for super cheap money
Yeah.
at the moment.
They're going for a cheap money for a reason. If you happen to listen
Why?
back to an SL special on this very podcast platform that I did it a while back
Oh yeah,
with Bruce Greetham from Bruce Greetham's Classic Mercs, those R230s, they are a little bit unreliable. It's from that low point of Merc unreliability. And they do go wrong a fair bit. So I've always tried to avoid the R230s, to be honest.
yeah. It's the air suspension is the worst thing, but you just check they're not too sort of lumpy in the corners, and
And
they
they
should
leak
be
on
right.
the electrics. The boot leaks on the electrics.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah, you've done a special on it. You know what you're talking about. I would say also the CLKs. I bang on about CLKs. They are a sleeper hit, and I think 10 years people go chasing for those. But the engine makes them interesting. But there's some good. The point being of all of this, there's some good V8s out there, aren't they? Just sitting in cars quite cheaply.
The point being about your CLK that you had is it was so good you sold it.
Well, it was just so good because it was a use case thing again. That it's so good that what do I do with it? Because I then got a daily car, which was a convertible, and to be honest, apart from the engine, there wasn't much. You know, I can't be in two cars at once going in the same place, so I kind of shuffled the cars around. But I had one of these, a CLK 55, which is the hand-built AMG engine, and I think if you can get one of those, they are going for cheap money at the moment. It's a 4-seater convertible. You can pick them up for like 7 or 8 grand, a good one. Get one with service history. They're very low maintenance if they've been looked after, and they're one to get. They're not as exciting as probably a 129 in terms of classic-y car because they're still 10 years younger, but I think they're one to watch. So I think the V8s I think are interesting. I think why don't you just buy a Stag for the fun of it?
Because I would have to admit that you might be right, and that will never happen. I would rather gouge out my eyes than go and buy a Triumph Stag and suggest that you might be right, even though it would pander to my BL fixation.
Yeah, and go back and listen. If you've not listened to that podcast, check it out. It's our Stag versus SL road test. It's the podcast before this one, and we do come away with a couple of conclusions. Yours wins on quality, hands down. The Stag isn't very well screwed together, and the interior quality is not that great, and the roof's not as the engineering's not as good. However, it is an interesting car to own, and it is very much a classic car. So there is still that enjoyment. It is a classic car, and it will keep me busy. whereas yours is not really. If you left yours for a few weeks, it's not going to
For
make any
20
difference. There's
years,
not
for
much to do in
example,
yours, is there?
it would still
Yeah, but there's
start.
not much to do.
No, it isn't. And
Is it?
this
Is
is
it
the amazing
potentially a
thing
bit
about
too
this car.
boring?
I just walk into the garage and sit down in it and it starts first time all the time.
Yeah, but because of that, you're now looking at blooming MG RV8s or whatever they are. Now, what's that?
What?
MG ZT, whatever it is,
ZTs.
whatever you just shown me. ZT260.
Clearly, you weren't paying attention at the point I showed it to you. On the
Well, no, it's
screen.
just my eyes were just horrified. If you maybe you do need a classic car that's a bit more. You need something in between your Porsche and this to keep you amused.
Or I just need to listen to you moaning about the Stag when it goes wrong, or the 20 things you need to fix in it. Because the thing about the Stag is, as much as I love them, inevitably that will go wrong, I think.
There's going to be plenty of material. If you want to hear more about V8s, we talked about V8s there. Check out episode 25. I should mention that because we do ask the question: should we buy a V8 before it's too late?
I think we only came up with that because it vaguely rhymed, V8 and late.
TVRs we talked about, didn't we?
Yeah, V8 MGBs and the RV8s and stuff, because they're still, particularly the MGB V8 is still a great car because it's a small classic car and it's got the great V8 engine in it.
Yeah, so episode 25, if you want to get lost in V8s, go check it out, have a listen, let us know what you think. And here's how you can let us know what you think.
You can get in touch with Max and Matt via our socials. We're at The Tyre Kickers UK on Instagram and The Tyre Kickers on Facebook.
You've been in touch in record numbers since the last show on 2 people, so thank you for your letters, postcards, and all those drawings in crayon.
Yeah, first of all, on cars we called ugly, like the Rolls-Royce Camargue, the Ford Anglia, Daimler Dun, Ford Scorpio. That was in the last episode. Sam, who goes by the handle Old Car Lady on Insta, she says the Camargue is one of her favourite cars. She says much better than that Panther DeVille she had, which she said always let her down.
Panther DeVille, that's a kind of Liberace type car, kit car, isn't it? That really is ugly. She also put some photos up showing how she used the Camargue on the school run and also as a recovery truck, Rolls Recovery. Now, that could be a thing.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, that car was how much back in the day? And it was doing the school run.
I think it's
with
the
that as
world's
well.
most expensive car for a time in the 70s.
Bonkers. Yeah, have a look on social media, Sam's social media and our social media, because she does make a good case for the Camargue. Meanwhile, our Rover All on Instagram says, I used to have a Scorpio, a Wanta Dart, and I've always had Max's favourite car, an Anglia. Now, we called these ugly in the last podcast, but he prefers the word characterful. And do you know what? Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Fair enough.
Corb 2000 says, back in the day, I used to have a Scorpio as a company car when colleagues had Vauxhall Amigas. They thought I was mad, but the Scorpio was comfortable, spacious, and very well equipped.
Benjamin M says on the subject of fugly cars, I give you the Triumph Mayflower. This is one I was aware of, but actually how he sums it up is pretty much bang on, actually. It looks like the love child, he says, of a London taxi and Noddy's car. Is this in your radar, the Triumph Mayflower?
Funnily enough, I saw that in a car museum about 6 months ago, and it really is ugly. It's one of those classic cars that it's too big for its chassis, so it's kind of falling over itself. Google a Mayflower and you'll see what we mean. Now, after one of you told us you were listening by a poolside in Bali, we also asked you, where do you listen to this show? And we got some interesting locations. Check some of these out.
Yes, Clint Randall says he's been listening to us in Peru, Max, while he's doing a round-the-world trip on his motorbike. He says he's having a really great time doing it. He's missing his family and his dog, but what he really misses is his MGB GT. It's his daily driver as a photographer back here in the UK. It's funny, actually, you miss cars while you're away, don't you? I mean, I've just got back from France on a family holiday, and I didn't necessarily miss my bed or the house or whatever, but I actually missed the Stag.
I think the key word there is family in family holiday. That's where you miss the car.
No, but you do miss driving your car. I mean, I got in at 2:30 this morning. It was a bit of a schlep getting back, and it was a bit of aggro getting through the ports and that sort of stuff. So I got in at 2:30 this morning. But at 7:30, I woke up and I looked out the window. I thought, well, that's all right. I'll drive it to a meet. So I sort of propped my eyelids open like a cartoon character with matchsticks, and I got out and sat just to get driving it again. So I got there and it was really good, and then I chucked it down. I had to get the roof up. Luckily, we practiced that in the road test podcast.
I don't think you actually managed to get the roof up, did you? Successfully, we just gave up halfway through and put it back.
But I don't like taking my car out in the rain. I'm a bit precious about it. I've got a dirty Stag now.
I agree. And also, you can't put it away in the garage. I actually texted you after I saw that photograph and said, do not put that away in the garage wet because it will rust away.
I had a plan though. It was just a shower this morning, so I took it and I air dried it down a dual carriageway at 70
Along with some
miles an
chips.
hour. Yeah, air fried it down a dual carriageway, and I could see the rain coming off it. And then I just left it in the sun just to dry out before I put it in the garage. I mean, you don't want to be putting a British Leyland car back in the garage wet, do you? I mean, literally, I'll flip the garage door up, just be rust, wouldn't it?
Now, back to where you are and where you listen. 350 Monroe listens on a night shift in an underground mine in the Adelaide Hills, fixing broken machines. Beat that. Also, he's just bought an XJ12 this week that hasn't been driven for 24 years. So he fixes broken machines at work and then has a busman's holiday with a Jag. By the way, he was telling me he's got 9 Jags and 3 Rovers in a collection of 29 cars. Good man.
Wow. Well, yeah, and a very unique location. I think I can do slightly better than that. I mean, Corp 2000 has been listening in Tahiti and Bora Bora in
Oh.
French Polynesia. I mean, it's more glam. It's not quite as kind of wow as being an underground mine, but
Show off.
French Polynesia is definitely on my bucket list. But he too told us that he's been missing his cars and was looking forward to getting home to drive them. So he sat there in Tahiti thinking about, "Oh, maybe I'll get back and drive my old banger." So there's something about these cars, aren't they? Are addictive.
Absolutely. Let's bring it back to Earth, though. DT McMurty also let us know about where he's listening to the show, not the Maldives, but the car park at Morrison's.
We also asked what your car warm-up routine was. We talked about this in the last episode. Do you let your car tick over for 10 minutes or do you drive off? Or Custom Skills says it might take up to 20 miles to properly warm up. Don't thrash it, he says, but don't apply a lot of load in too high a gear.
KCD MGBGT says, and this is the routine: full choke, start, pull out of garage, choke in halfway, close garage door, choke fully in, set off, gentle throttle till up to temperature. Sounds perfect.
Okay, I've taken notes on that. Another one, Vaudry SCCS says drive away. He says sitting with the choke on can clog the plugs. Well, that's what you were saying, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Rockstar Cars says any cars air-cooled or pre-1990, I warm through. Modern stuff, just crack on.
Mog Online 72 says don't warm up at idle. You need to get moving to warm the oil so it gets to the top of the engine.
Exactly. Big Bike Mike 77 says I do let my MG warm up.
That name sounds like one of those cards you used to see in the phone box. This is Alan 74.
What phone
says,
boxes were you in?
This is Alan 74 says modern classic, anything 80s or older, will just turn it on and go. However, I'd wait until 90 degrees before putting my foot down. Older stuff I'd consider idling. Yeah, it's a good point.
Lee Hussein says he lets his 70s Alpha warm up for a few minutes to limber her up, and then halfway down the road, she breaks down. He's had a couple of breakdowns with that Alpha, including recently an ignition coil that went kaput while he was cruising down the M3 back from an Alpha meet.
Yeah, he shot us a note to say he was in a sort of zen moment coming back from an Alpha meet. The weather was really nice. He was driving back along the motorway, sort of warm air, had the tunes on, had his new Alpha. He's not had this Alpha very long. He said, then he sent us a picture of it on the hard shoulder of the M3 or in one of those refuge bits, and then back on a low loader. So stick with it, Lee. That's what old cars are like. I think he was saying that particular car just hasn't been used for a while, so it needs a few things sorted, but that's classic cars for you, isn't it?
Yeah, Alpha Karma. It's going to get you back.
Yes, and finally on this one, Mark Palmer on Facebook says, he always warms up for a minute or two. It may not make a massive difference, he says, but I feel like it helps. Now, all that's good advice. I tell you what, I've got kind of slightly confused with it all now, Max, to be honest with you.
Have you got lost in all the advice?
I'm starting overthinking it all. I was starting to Stag this morning. I haven't quite worked out the routine of that, but I had it sort of sussed in my head that I would warm up for a little bit, then I would drive and this, that, and that. But now I'm kind of overthinking it. I think it's your fault.
It's not my fault. It's just mechanical principles. It's just basically you've got to drive it, but at low revs. And just remember this phrase: the devil makes work for idle engines. Do not let it tick over at low pressure because it's not getting the oil pressure around.
Okay, it's episode 39. We're talking retro car stuff, surely. But first,
Cars owned by celebs don't normally see much of a hike in value. To be honest, who cares if Roy Cropper from Coronation Street once owned your Vauxhall Viva?
but how about this one? Range Rover 2006 L322. We've talked about these on the show. 120,000 miles. Possible, what, 10 or 15 grand car
At most,
normally?
yeah.
Yeah. But because of the backseat passenger, this one went for a regal sum.
£175,500, including fees, for a
Whoa.
2006 L322. Now, it was a Vogue SE, but that should only be in really an extra 500 quid on the sale price. But that is an astonishing amount of money, all because the late Queen sat in the back.
Yeah, so it just looks like a Bogo, L322. How many of these did she have? Because didn't one of these sell before? Or are
I
we
think
looking
she
at
had a
the same
couple.
thing?
This was one she had for 2 years, and I think she used this for kind of private events. It wasn't used for state events because she had various cars for this, but this is to go and turn up and look at some horses and stuff and some racing horses.
Ah, so she didn't drive this one. Yeah, there's a shot of her getting out the back of it. So it was, yeah, it was more of a chauffeur car. Do you remember because the one before this that made the headlines was somebody bought it, didn't they? But it didn't have any provenance. And then they eventually managed to find a photo of her at the wheel, and the car sort of doubled or tripled in value, didn't it, overnight?
Yeah, and I think that only went for the kind of 50 or 60. I mean, this was 175,000. Apparently there was two bidders after it, one from the Caribbean who won it and the other one from Japan. So maybe they wanted it for a museum, but it wasn't I mean, it wasn't a special car. It wasn't like bulletproof or covered with lights or what American heads of state have. It was just a Range Rover. The only extras it had were grab handles in the back, Tonga green, no privacy glass, which is the best spec for L322, small wheels, an Oxford sand leather. I mean, a beautifully spec car, but 175,000.
It's that old auction thing, though, isn't it? If you've got two people who want it, that just pushes the value up. I mean, compared to in terms of royal cars, though, her stuff hasn't been the stuff that's got the big money. I mean, Diana's stuff's got big money. There was that Escort RS Turbo, an 85, I think it was, driven by her. They sold for
Yeah,
722,000
amazing amount of
quid,
money.
back in auction in 2022. But remember the other famous one, it didn't get quite so big money, though, was that Metro that she had, one of their
Oh,
first
yeah.
cars. The first pictures. That actually went for 6 grand. It's actually in Coventry Transport Museum, that one. But back in the 90s, that went for 6 grand. I mean, that would be worth a hell of a lot of money now, wouldn't it? If that was on the open market.
There's a picture of it now on your screen with her driving it. Can you see it's got a classic BL wing mirror that has just kind of collapsed under its own weight? It's just given up.
Yeah, it's got this sort of wonky wing mirror hanging off, as they always did because they got whacked, didn't they? And it just people didn't know how to fix them. But yeah, no, so that's 6 grand. But yeah, any royal connection, I guess, any provenance, if you can prove it with cars, especially if it's celebrity or royal, whatever, it just pushes that value up, doesn't it?
That's an incredible amount of money. I think it was a world record for an L322. But just goes to show those L322s, great cars, just so stylish at the moment.
This is the Tyre Kickers.
Matt, last week I was in your garage when we did the SL versus Stag thing, and I noticed something.
Did you now? Well, what have you noticed? The old Sunbeam oil stains still there on the floor. I need to get around to getting rid of those. I know what it was. Was it I hadn't painted my floor with that grey stuff like I said I was going to?
No, what I
No.
noticed was nothing. I noticed absolutely nothing. There was nothing on the walls about Triumphs or Sunbeams or the Alphas you used to have. There's no automobilia on your garage wall, and I think that's missing a bit.
Oh, you mean the one like tin posters and stuff like that? I've got a couple of bits. I mean, I don't know if you spotted it. What kids got me one about a Mercedes when I had that Mercedes, and there's a couple of rally plates. But no, I haven't got that sort of automobilia tag. You're talking like Jay Leno's man cave garage thing where it's all old petrol pumps and rusty signs and retros thing and those oil cans. I've never massively gone into that. Do you think I should get some of that then?
Well, it's just, there's a kind of character to it. Now, obviously, Jay Leno has got a bit more money than you and I put together. And he has got his walls covered in everything. I mean, his car garage is like a museum and it's fantastic, isn't it? But I have to say, I've got a few things around that kind of relate to me. So I've got a couple of number plates from cars I used to have. I've got the old Porsche 912 number plate. I've got some hubcaps. I've got a camshaft from an engine that blew. I've just got little bits that remind me of this stuff. It's not particularly the stuff that you want to buy to give yourself a kind of character, a bit like when you bought posters at university just of bands because he thought it looked cool. These are things that I've kind of had and got and they've fallen off the car and have broken just to remind me about the various cars. And I was kind of thinking about that really, just the story of the cars you've had in the past.
Haven't you also got a grill off a Wolsey Hornet?
I do have a grill off a Wolsey Hornet, yeah, absolutely. That's in the attic. I haven't actually put that up yet. But yeah, I've grill off a Wolsey Hornet that I had as well.
This is the sort of thing you think I should be cluttering my garage with and hanging.
Absolutely. It's not cluttering your garage. It's
I
kind of
like a bit of-
mementos. It's past history. It's the things that
Well,
make you laugh and think, oh, I had a great time with that Wolseley Hornet, so I kept the grill.
Yeah, okay. Well, I get it. With old number plates that are sentimental and mean something, but just filling your garage with tat, I quite like less in my garage. I want
It's
minimalism.
just
I don't want.
characterless. It's like a prison cell, to be honest. There was more inside. If you've been doing 10 years for fraud, you'd have more inside on your prison cell walls than you had in your garage.
Should have shut the door and left you in there. It's the way I just don't want. I've just cleared it out. I've said to you, I've just cleared it out after 4 years of like junk in there. There was memorabilia from a Sunbeam Alpine in
Yeah, but
there.
that's lovely. That's not junk. That's history.
Oh,
That's your past.
yeah. Well, okay. So what should I get then? What should I put in there? Should I have some what about like an old BL sign or something? Let's have a look on eBay, see if they've got something there. Retro. Hold on, let's try it. British Leyland retro sign or something like that.
This
Because you're
is
talking
live
about
research. Matt's doing live research, which shows he is doing some research.
it's like when you forgot to do your essay or your school homework. British Leyland retro garage Manco sign. It's like £5, £10. Oh, look, this is a reproduction. Oh, this is quite good though because it's got a bit of authenticity because it's actually rusted around the edges.
Yeah, that's
So
really good. It should have rusted in the middle and the back and the front as well. But yeah, a British Leyland sign. Because interestingly, you haven't got those BL roundels on your Stag. Whoever did the paint job has tried to DBL it and taken them off.
you sent me this. This is like a sort of a whole automobilia site. So it's got like the oil cans and the signs and that
Yeah,
sort of
let's
stuff.
let's have a look. Click on the box that says signs and let's see
Signs,
what
okay.
they've got. Here we are. So, I mean, there's all kind of RAC and AA signs from the kind of 50s and 40s and Champion spark plug signs. It's just about a bit of character to the garage walls because you've got a breeze block garage, so it's got zero character on it. I'm just thinking of something that kind of relates vaguely to you and your past cars. With a
Well, it's like,
Stag, there's an AA sign, and you may be getting used to seeing the
yeah,
AA, for example.
yeah,
So you
that's
need to
true.
recognize the sign.
It'd be rude about my garage. My garage has got feelings too. Right, let's see what else we've got here. I mean, this is Michelin signs, Castrol signs, like Morris signs, AA, as you say, 750 quid for
Yeah,
an AA
that's
garage
the thing I
sign.
wasn't going to mention. They are quite expensive, these signs these days. It's a lot, isn't it?
I think stuff that's a bit sentimental, and they've got some road signs here. If you could actually have some road signs of places you've lived or things like that, then that's got sentimental value.
You could do that, but you could also have a bit of this because, it's quite nice. It gives it a bit of character, doesn't it? And when you're in the garage and you're polishing and you're taking things apart and they're falling apart in your hands and you're ending up with 5 screws more than you started with, I think it's one of those things that just makes it feel a bit warm. It's got some kind of feeling to it. The
Mm,
garage have got a kind of spirit of old cars.
Do you know what this is all saying to me? One word: clutter.
Oh, no. It's not
It's
clutter.
clutter. I don't want to open the
It's
garage and see
history.
some sort of eyesore of signs. I mean,
I can
a
see you
couple of
going. I can see you going to Stonehenge and knocking it down and building a nice road through it because it's just clutter. It's just getting in
no,
the
no, no.
way.
I want my garage with that sort of. I want to paint the walls, paint the floor, and put some nice lights in there, and then just have it all quite minimal. Because then I just
Minimal.
well, it's also we live in Britain as well. Let's get to the thing. My garage is big enough for my car and just about big enough to get around it. You parked your car in there, and you were just able to get out. And we haven't got the room for all this stuff. It's nice if you've got like a American style or a millionaire style, sort of garage where you can sit in with a sofa. A Chris Evans garage where you've got this. You could have some of this stuff in, but
Yeah, but you
we
could
really
have a
haven't got.
mini Chris Evans garage. You can just have a couple of things in there. You could squeeze a chair in there and look at your car.
Do you know what? Do you know what would happen? Right, this is the British reality of it. Is you'd hang one of these signs on the wall, and then you'd be shuffling past to get past your car. You'd knock it off and dent the car, wouldn't you? That's what it'd do. It'd fall off, boing, and go, oh, for say this sort of stuff. Do I want to spend like 500 quid on a tin sign to put in my garage? I'd rather spend 500 quid on the car
Or
to make
fuel
it.
in your case.
Well, yeah, it is
That's
fuel.
a that's a tank.
I don't. I drove it today. I actually saw the cage go down.
I think the good thing about the Stag is you're going to have so many bits fall off in the next 6 months that you'll be able to cover those garage walls.
Yeah, maybe I should have something in memorial for the Sunbeam. Maybe you should have like a Sunbeam type thing. And maybe I could get but then it's just a bit, root servicing here. I don't really care.
I can feel I'm flogging a dead horse here, isn't it? But I'm just trying to give you a bit of character because you threw away loads of Sunbeam stuff. I used to have a wing that came off my Porsche 912. In fact, I gave it away because it reminded me of how painful it was to pay the bill to get the new wing on and then get it sprayed. But yeah, I think you need some character in that garage. It needs some Stag feel. It needs some kind of 70s retro British Leyland glory.
Christmas is coming up. what you could get something for me for Christmas. Actually, I found something while you've been talking. I've just found something else. Actually, have a look
Right.
at this. It's a BL light up sign.
Oh, wow,
So
yeah.
it's an
Brilliant.
illuminated LED light box. Now, if that's true to fashion, that's going to start flickering with a bit of earth problems fairly
If
soon,
it's
isn't it?
Lucas. It's $69.99, which is interestingly $69.98 more than I'm going to spend on you at Christmas. Enough, I hear you shout. Okay, we've reached the end of this episode. Happy now?
Next time, we look at some of the best car adverts. What made you remember cars? And did a car advert ever make you buy that car?
Plus, I'm no fan of kits, but is the fake AC Cobra the one acceptable kit car? There's lots of them for sale, they look great and sound great, but is it just a Sierra in a fancy frock?
And will people say, is it real, mate? Plus the return of Crush or Caress, although I'm going to let you know it'll just be Crush, because I'm going to crush a princess just to see if when it's crushed, it'll look any better.
How dare you? But until then, remember to get in touch and see you next time for the big episode 40. Goodbye.
Bye.
Oh, hang on. Let me just deliver this joke.
Oh, God, here we go. Oh, God. Hold on, back it up. Beep, 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 beep. Right, okay, let's give him a runway. Here he goes.